program is called Programming in Computer Science, and I have a simple link down here to get to this. And I'm hoping that it's something that can be shared with students as they need it. And we have these three pathways within it: programming, web development, and cybersecurity. This is the room where I teach. We also meet in the staff room in the morning for a check-in. We'll talk about the three pathways. We'll talk about the programming and web development pathway because our cybersecurity pathway is still under development, and share a little bit about how the classroom works. We have Windows, MacBooks, Linux laptops, and interactive whiteboards, and all students get WordPress sites. And we just got this thing working now where a student from a wireless Mac can take over one of the interactive projection boards. That was a little challenging. It's very cool now. Okay, so the programming path is for people who want to become software engineers. As you can see that you're going to need at least a bachelor's degree for that field. And wages are pretty good, and the 780 is a fairly good number of projected openings for a lot of fields in Vermont, not for being a cop or a nurse, but that's pretty good stuff. Web developers don't need quite as much education. You could get into that just with a certificate of some college, and as a result, the pay is a lot less, little fewer openings. But these are employed web developers, and students can also do web development on the side as a contractor. I have one doing that now, to get themselves through college or to start learning more about other skills that could elevate them to another kind of career later. So as I say, our cybersecurity program is still under development, so I just could have taken it out of the presentation today. Catherine, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I'm curious what you see in terms of college selections for the students in leaving the software and the web developer programs.
VTC, Vermont Tech, is the least expensive option, but doesn't give a whole lot of scholarships. You can take online courses, but I think most of the courses are either in the Williston or Randolph campuses. And I will be teaching Intro to Java and web development as dual enrollment. If they go to Champlain College, they have a full online program, as well as a really robust forensics lab and cybersecurity programs. I think University of Vermont is building their cybersecurity program. Norwich, which is connected to the Air Force, lots of federal funding that goes through there. For the two-year program, as I say, in the second year, I am teaching web development and Intro to Java as a dual enrollment, so students will get credit for that if they then chose to go to BTC. Got a couple of AP courses, Java and AP Computer Science Principles. This is a sort of general purpose AP exam and an AP course that's for everybody, not just people who are specializing in computer science. That's how it's designed anyway. So I teach that to my first years, and then the second years can take the AP Computer Science A Java if they're programmer specialists. Three work-based learning things we focus on: the WordPress Web Clinic, which we'll talk more about later. I actually have a student now who's making money doing that after 1 year doing it as a free clinic. Students teach through 4-H, so they can have students who are middle schoolers or even elementary schoolers come to the lab and learn about things that we're teaching. And we have a connection to a volunteer civic hacking group, which are people who, after their day jobs, come and get together and develop things for community-based organizations and municipalities. And we're working on projects that my students will be able to participate in. So those are all the kinds of things that you might not find in a regular high school computing class. I wanted to give you guys a little quick tour of some of the projects that we've done. I used something called Prezi to do it. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, but it's a little interesting. Breaks it up a little bit. The big thing we did last year was redoing Vermont Career Technical Student Organizations, or VTC TSO, which is now vtcareertech.org. So this is our client getting the final presentation from our project manager for that, Susan Ladd. Our flagship software program was making a mobile app that students could use who didn't speak English to take a school survey on restorative practices and climate So if you were Nepali, you could have the question read to you, and then the possible answers that you would then fill out on the form by just finding that on the app. This was done for our Restorative Practices Consortium, who are a group of people from all over the district who are implementing this here. So that was a really big project, and everybody in the class participated in that. This was last year's 4-H program, which was Andrew teaching students Roblox, which is kind of like a cross between Second Life and Lego. And it's for robot combat. And we looked at some of the parallels between the kind of coding that Roblox does called Lua and JavaScript, which my students learned how to do. And they had a really great time, and Andrew discovered how much he loves teaching. We had my student who did the work on the BTC TSO site is now paid by the class of 1970 to make a website for their reunion. And he learned a lot about the challenges of contracting and figuring out what the deliverables are and helping the client understand that they can't ask for everything when they have a fixed rate contract. It's really an exciting journey for him, but getting him ready to be a contractor in WordPress development. Another student who evaluated different freeware video editing software, because students who want to edit videos from home and don't have the money to buy Adobe Premiere and need to find something to use, and we wanted to standardize on something. So we evaluated a bunch of different software using the Let's Play concept, where students play a video game and make comments about how they're playing it, which is a really popular thing that kids do. This is just a class-wide project, which is just to play Mastermind, and so the kids make the same code, and from the process of learning how to do that, they're then able to learn to do other projects. If you find our class website, which I'll give you a link to, I think it's also in an email you've ever gotten from me, it has a blog that links to each of the different projects that we did last year, and you can learn more about them. You can see videos of the students presenting and all that. So again, I think that's something special. So looking at the curriculum of our programming group, the students learn the design principles for making software for clients. They learn JavaScript and then Java. And we focus a lot on habits of work that support college and career success. How you work together as a team, how you manage your own feelings when software isn't working well, learning independently, solving problems on your own. And they also build portfolios in WordPress. All students get WordPress sites to work from. We go through a progression of merit badges, which are short programs which get progressively longer and harder. They learn how to do the program, and then they're put it on a computer for an hour or so, and they have to write it. And if they can write it, they earn the badge. And if they can't write it yet, then they just haven't earned that badge, and they can try it again when they want to. And the transcript at the end of the year will talk about the skills embedded in each of these badges and which ones the students have gotten. This is an example of some code that's up on GitHub, which is a place where coders share code for free. And this is a rubric that students use to evaluate each other's code before they submit it to me. So for each of the badge software, there's different criteria, and they let each other know how well they're doing. They fix it up, and then they send it in. So this is quality assurance embedded into the program. And our big project at the end is a choose-your-own-adventure role-playing game that uses open source software. Both Linux, Firefox, WordPress, and Moodle are all open source. And this game itself is open source, so classrooms from other schools could go and grab our code and write their own contributing games to play on it, or even help us develop our core code better. That prepares students for how you contribute to code in a larger community. So our goal for web development is that you can develop, maintain, and protect a website, security-wise, to deliver a return on investment for your clients. It's one thing to make a website that looks nice, but yet another to actually make some money for them. They also learn design principles. They learn HTML and CSS. They learn to program with WordPress. They learn to update and keep sites secure, which is critical for WordPress, and they learn to manage hosting accounts. If you go to the slideshow, there's a full video on what web development is that I've put together, and you can play that. I won't do that now. This is our web clinic site. You can get to it at the clinic.btc.bsdbt.org. And what you're looking at right now is the offer to Champlain Chamber of Commerce members to have free website consults. So using video chats, or if they want to come into the classroom, they can. They tell us what they're trying to get out of a website, and students and I interrogate them and give them advice. They fill out a form first, and once we get a form submission, we schedule the meeting with them. And then, 2 or 3 of them that are the right sized job for our class, we then take on as free development clients, and they get everything at the end of the year to do with what they wish. Maybe take it to another developer if they want, or hire our students to keep working with it as they like. This is the offer as displayed on the Chamber of Commerce site. And this is the VTC TSO. We did a case study of our work. So if you go to the site and look at that, you'll see all the different changes we made. It looks a lot prettier and nicer, and does a lot more than it used to do. We use GitHub and use GitHub's project management system for managing group projects. So here you're seeing the tickets that need to be done for the to-dos, the ones that people are working on now, and the ones that have been done. And you just move these cards over. This is called Kanban, and it's a standard practice for software developers. So in the first year, students have various units and topics. They're all learning how to do JavaScript through those merit badges that we spoke about before. They're all taking the code.org AP Computer Science Principles course, and they're all doing their own projects. They're also using an online course program called Code High School. We all do the AP Computer Science course, and they can also choose other online courses depending on what their focus is, whether it's cybersecurity, web development, or programming. And then in year 2, they're all going on their own tracks with customer-driven projects. So regardless of which of these 3 things you're in, we find a way to have you getting information from somebody about something they need, and you designing a product or service for those people. I mentioned the role-playing game, the WordPress portfolios, and again, we'll have cybersecurity labs when we have students who commit to that for 2 years, and other online courses. There's a key here that talks about how to read all these colored things. Is it an online course? Is it a dual enrollment college course? Is it a skills competition? Is there some kind of credential? This is very complicated, and I don't expect you to get too far into it, but I wanted you to get an overview of kind of what we're up to. In the first semester, learn JavaScript, AP Computer Science Principles. These are all clickable links when you get to the presentation, so you can check them out. This is what the online course looks like, and because we pay for it, I can go and see all the students' progress. I can see where they're having trouble, and that's really handy. This is some of the content for AP Computer Science Principles. So if you'll see basic ideas like how do you deal with data, what's an algorithm, how does the internet work, interesting for anyone. And all those skills are really key. Again, like how do you collaborate to get stuff done. If it weren't for this course, I don't think I'd do as much group work. But it kind of requires us to have the students do lots of different activities in teams and small groups, and that makes a huge difference. Self-directed learning is a huge part of our course. And I expect students to do 3 hours per week of home study. I tell them ahead of time that that's what's required. Some of them, it takes a while to get along with that, but they get there. Every Monday, we look at a time tracking sheet called Clockify, and I can see how much each student has logged of the work that they've done and what kind of work they did the week before. And I call this a leaderboard just to see where people are at. They also track the tasks that they're doing on their projects using that same method I showed before, that Kanban board. So any student's individual project, I'm going to be able to go and see where are they up to, what are their next things that they're trying to do. And if a student's home because they're sick or they're snowed in, They participate in class through something like Zoom that we're doing now called Google Meet, and Slack, which is a messaging system. And we see their faces if they want, we hear their voices, and it's full participation in class. It's a lot of fun, and they appreciate it. I think one of the most unique things that we do is to integrate restorative practices. Twice a week, we have a circle with a talking stick where I deal with social emotional learning issues. And when we're doing that, it's people first, not learning first. We all go by first names, and we deal with things like the stress of coding and how we support each other in small groups. And when we're then in the classroom, it's learning first, not people first. And so I'm Mr. M, and we are much more formal, except for when we have our breaks. This makes such a huge difference, though, starting each day with a circle. The team is very coherent. When a student's missing, we can tell. And I think that building that sense of appreciation for helping and being helped by others is probably the best preparation they can have for getting a job. Because when I talk to employers, they say there's a lot of people who are smart and can code, but the people who can be collaborative and have a good work ethic as well are much harder to find. That is my presentation.